Okay, today's exercise is to replace the loom wires for the Canons on Star Trek The Next Generation. My left Canon has been acting up quite a bit, getting worse. It seems to rotate and do all the proper things. However, frequently pushing the trigger button will just make the noise happen and not trigger the solenoid. Now, that being said, the solenoid will still eventually pop the ball out of the Canon. So it's getting power. However, I've tried a bunch of things, wiggling wires and whatnot. So I've decided to simply get the repair kit, and I'm going to take off the cover. You can see this is the one with the Canon. I'm going to replace the optos. I'm going to replace the solenoid just because while I'm in there I have extra parts and I may as well. And I'll document kind of my trials and tribulations. Okay, so the top is off. You can see the Canon wired separately. You can see the lights. The LED has a diode in it right here along these two paths. If I untangle the wire so you can get a better kind of look. So opto on the other side, solenoid, plunger, light, mechanism, and this is the mark plate underneath. Simply trying to make sense of the wiring, just moving it briefly broke that lead off of the lamp. And also have some bad soldering going on here on the solenoid as well. Okay, so the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the wires along here, leaving a bunch still connected to the original pieces so that when I bring the new wire up, I know exactly what goes where. All right, so I'm going to, cut these about here. It's also a really good idea to take lots of pictures in case the wires fall off like it did on the lamp. There we go. I cut the originals. I left lots of leads on the old parts. Now, if I was just going to keep those, I could solder right or splice right into these lines without having to worry about the optos. And again, same with the solenoid. I bought new ones. Don't need the diode, I don't believe, no. And new coil sleeves. Okay, so there's the assembly. I took off the solenoid. The connector was broken on it, or at least not solid. Now I'm going to clean everything, including the old plunger that I put into the new coil. So there's the new coil, but I'm going to wash all that with 99% alcohol. Okay, so there I've got the new coil in. I cleaned the base with alcohol and a magic eraser. Actually worked pretty good. Do not need a diode on there. I could leave this off till I wrote the wires. I just like putting things back so I don't forget where they go. More of an FYI, but here's one thing that was kind of happening. The lug, because of all the turning and stuff, had broken off the terminal, but was still connected like that to the solenoid. So that explains why it was still getting power, and could be why it was intermittent. There's the old original coil. Coil sleeve. Not very dirty, but replaced nonetheless. I'm going to raise the play field now to get the old wires snaked out without trying to remove the assembly. I also put claws down and things so that the Canon doesn't get scratched, because again, I could have popped the laser out, but I didn't. So that's coming out next. Okay, so I'm under the play field now. Here's the cable that goes up through that hole there, and luckily it terminates in these 3 connectors, which are all wired the same on the loom that I got from Marco. So this shouldn't be too difficult to get it out. I just want to make sure it's easy getting the new one in. So to try to make my life a little easier, this is what I've done. I've just taken a piece of heavy wire, duct taped it to the original loom that I can push down, and then I should be able to pull the other one up using that wire on the other side. Okay, so I've pulled it through. It goes through here and through the hole. I don't know if you can maybe see it if I can focus. It goes right there. So on top of the play field, I really just been able to sneak that wire down, and with some luck, I'll be able to pull a new one up. Okay, that worked out well. The new cable is installed, routed through, and all reconnected. You can see there's the old cable, a little brittle and chunky. Okay, so I got that nice piece up there, still attached to my little wire. I'm going to carefully remove the duct tape and reveal the wires underneath. I do need to put a zip tie here once I'm done, making sure that it can't fall back down the hole. All right, so the duct tape came off easier as well than I thought. I removed the plastic Canon. There's the laser. Got all the wires here now. Nice and ready to go. Okay, so I'm also going to, as I said, replace the optos just because it's simple. So I'm going to remove the receiver side first, like so. And I've got the new ones right here. All right, cardboard on the play field. So my soldering station is here since the wires are here. This is going to let me solder here without potentially dripping solder onto the precious play field. So these are the two optos, lighting, solenoid. So, oh, and I added a beer to the combination, so I don't know if that's a wise thing, but we'll see. So first thing I did was I tinned each of the ends using my soldering station. I don't have it up that high because you don't want to burn the wires. I'm going to then trim these a little bit, and you can see that's a soldering iron burn right there. But I'm going to trim these off now just a little bit, and then try to drop solder onto the opto. Okay, so I was very worried about how to get that on there, but using my handy dandy soldering station with the octopus arms, I was able to hold them close enough together that I just had to solder the joint, and it worked perfectly. I did notice the cables were miscolored. They paired them off not the way I took them off, so I've corrected that by using orange and then that yellow gray one as per the original. So you can see I kind of keep that handy so I can make sure it's all done the same way. Just a little close-up of just before I solder that one on. I've got again the pre-soldered wire, the tinned wire, sitting right on top, and now I'm just going to drop a little piece of solder right on the top. And there it is, all soldered up. As long as those wires are right, I'll be in good shape. So I did the same thing with the white. There's the original for reference, and I can make sure that it's done the same way here. So those are all back in place, looking good. Wires kind of out of the way. I've got my old coil for reference, so here's the corresponding wires. The purple with yellow, and then purple. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to feed these through the lug holes and twist them, and then solder them. So those are now to the solenoid. So I powered her on. I'm going to put that little zip tie there. I've let it rotate. I've tested the solenoids. I'm going to run it through the tests first. Alright, so there was a little problem. I had to take the coil out and reverse the way the coil sleeve was. When I got it, it was this way. I had to take it out and turn it this way so that you can kind of see it there, because it was Alright, so I neatened up the wires, put everything back together. I'm having an issue with my Canon now. It's connected to the motor underneath, so I got to figure that out. real easy to test. You can see I changed the coil around so that, whoops, that's how you can test it, obviously. The optos are working the way I wired them. That's good. And again, easy to test. You can stick your finger in there and let it go. It'll shoot at the mark. And bring it back. And then the lights will go. So that one's tomorrow.